Hello, hello. So, the new story today is here. Mississippi ex-trooper shared secret tape with colleagues. Crow's feet are popping.
Told you all that I am innocent, and I can't wait until court to prove my innocence.
It is.
Why is she taking a bikini? She's taking a video while in a bikini to say that.
Is a sex scandal that has rocked Mississippi. A state trooper fired after she allegedly sent a sex tape of her and another woman to other officers.
I got a lot of selfies of this chick.
On the force. Well, now she's fighting back against allegations
Same smile. Is she a robot?
in a civil lawsuit with a lawsuit of her own. We're breaking it all down with Perry Fallick, civil litigation attorney from the Morelli Law Firm. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Former Mississippi State Trooper Ivana Williams is finding herself in the middle of an intense court battle. You see, earlier this year, another woman claimed in a lawsuit that Williams,
Ivana Williams, okay,
had an unconsensual sexual encounter with her and filmed it. And not.
That sounds like it should be a different charge. Sounds like something rhymes with grape.
Not only that, but this Jane Doe, we'll refer to her as Jane Doe. Jane Doe says Williams sent it to Williams' then boyfriend, Brad McClendon. And we're going to have more on that later because he, too, is named in this lawsuit. Now, when that lawsuit was filed, the Mississippi Highway Patrol, or MHP.
So she's suing, was it Ivana Williams and Brad McClendon and John and Jane Doe's? She's suing her twin and his brother. Her brother, whatever. Comes now plaintiff through counsel, blah, blah, blah. Plaintiff is an adult resident of Rankin County, Mississippi. Shout out. Blah, blah, blah. What is this? Defendant. All right. Fictitious person that may be liable. Okay. Okay, so there's a bunch of Johns and Jane Does, 1 to 30. All right. All right.
Opened an internal investigation, and they ended up firing Williams and listed several allegations against her in a disciplinary letter. Colonel Charles Haynes accused Williams of unprofessional conduct and misuse of state property. He claimed, in addition to the allegation that she shared that video of herself and Jane Doe, Williams also allegedly sent illicit photos of herself to several master sergeants at MHP.
Ooh, somebody's trying to get a promotion, huh?
And even visited porn sites on her state-issued phone.
Whoa, she's doing all of that on the state phone? God damn, like she wanted to get caught. That's crazy.
Now, Williams believes that her firing was retaliatory and discriminatory, and she has been...
Huh? How's retaliatory and discriminatory? Some lady that you hooked up with got mad at you and sued you, which opened up an investigation because you sending the illicit photos on your government phone. That's what happened. What does this have to do with retaliations?
Fighting to get her job back. She claims that she was transferred by MHP to another county more than 100 miles away from her children and that this was improper. And as for the accusations of porn,
yes, children,
and illicit photos, she claimed there were plenty of male troopers that did that and they weren't getting fired for it.
Yeah, well, a woman wasn't accusing them of you know what I mean, videotaping them and, you know, eating cooch or whatever.
So we're going to dive into these legal particulars. And to help me do that, I want to bring on civil attorney Perry Fallick of the Morelli Law Firm.
Perry Fallick? Is that a real name or is this some sort of a joke?
Perry, so good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
Yeah, good to see you. A lot to talk about. Can I just start with that last part that she says that one of the things that makes her firing discriminatory was because there were other male troopers that allegedly did this. In fact, she claims she has knowledge that a man.
Yeah, but even if what she was saying was true, it still wouldn't make what she did not wrong. Like, other people doing something wrong doesn't preclude your bad behavior. It doesn't make any sense.
Master Sergeant has a video of him having sex with someone, and it's on the state-issued phone. I thought that was an interesting defense.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, though, she's kind of missing the point that it's not a one-for-one. She's not even claiming the exact same allegations against her. And obviously the most serious of the allegations against her are what's being alleged by the Jane Doe in the website, that she took a non-consensual video of her, having intimate relations with Jane Doe and then distributed it to at least one other person, McClendon, the other defendant. So, and in a
Okay. But the woman said before that she was that the whole thing was non-consensual. But now she's saying that the video was non-consensual.
In addition to that, she sent nude photos of herself to other colleagues and visited porn sites on the phone. So they basically called her out for a third strike, and the third strike being the most severe. So while there may be other,
the third strike was the watching the porn. Okay.
Allegations of similar type conduct, I don't think she makes the claim that any of her other male colleagues distributed images of another person around that weren't consensual.
I mean, again, if the allegation were true that you had state troopers filming stuff on state-issued phones, problematic, but I hear what you're saying. Okay, so now I want to go through some of these legal documents with you because I think it's absolutely fascinating. So, back to Jane Doe. She files her lawsuit in the United States District Court for the Southern District of Mississippi, and the suit lays out what she claims happened in 2022 and the damages that she's seeking. So the filing states, quote, "The two were friends and business colleagues prior to this dinner. Plaintiff had several drinks at dinner and became intoxicated. The two went back to Ivana Williams' home, where plaintiff has some recollection of the events.
Some?
Plaintiff became aware a sexual encounter took place. She could not remember everything that happened. Plaintiff had never been with a female before, nor had any."
Why do they always say that? No, it's a lie. They experimented in college or high school or whatever. You don't just randomly do something that you don't want to do when you're drunk. You do something that you're kind of curious about that you may not do under normal circumstances because it might ruin your reputation or whatever while you're drunk. But you still kind of wanted to do it.
Interest in being with a female. No other sexual activity took place with Williams before or after this one night. Jane Doe in the filing continues, noticing a phone in Williams' hand that night. Plaintiff asked Williams the following morning if she recorded anything that took place.
Okay, so she noticed the phone in her hand that night, which means, and she only addressed it when she woke up, which means she remembered a lot of what happened that night, even though she said she doesn't recall a lot of it. It'd be weird for you to remember the phone, but not the sexual activity. It doesn't make any sense. And why would you wait until the morning to address the phone thing unless that morning you remembered everything and you were embarrassed and you're like, oh, damn, she was recording.
Williams replied that she did indeed record sex between the two of them. Plaintiff told her to delete the video. Williams falsely told plaintiff she had nothing to worry about as her face was not in the video. And Jane Doe.
It sounds like they probably had a falling out, because why else would she send a video to her boyfriend?
Continues that while she asked Williams to delete the phone, she allegedly refused to do so, and then she discovered that the video hadn't been deleted on or about May 3rd, 2023. Let's stop it right there. Perry, your thoughts?
Obviously problematic allegations, and at this point, as the judge recently talked about in an order where he denied both motions to
the pictures on his desk changing constantly? Or am I losing my mind?
Dismissed by both defendants. At this point, the court takes all well-pleaded.
Okay, yeah, they're changing.
Allegations in the complaint is true. So that's the factual basis we're working with here. But if true, they fit squarely within this federal statute that Jane Doe brought the case under in federal court. There are some allegations which I thought were interesting, that she brought a separate state court action first before bringing this, and maybe we could get into that later. But the allegations here fit squarely within this statute. So if...
Why would anyone take this picture? You look crazy.
Everything is ultimately proven, I think both defendants are in trouble under this statute and additional causes of action.
Yeah, let's hold that for a second, because I'm going to get into it when we talk about the response from former Trooper Williams. So this is where things do get a little messy, a little complicated here. So according to the complaint from Jane Doe, it seems Brad McClendon was dating Ivana Williams at this time. They were both state troopers, but McClendon was apparently married. Williams casually mentioned to Jane Doe that McClendon's wife...
McClendon was married. Okay, so this woman was married, and she was cheating on her husband with that woman, and that woman was cheating on her boyfriend with her.
Wife had seen the video in her husband's email. Quote, Williams said she sent McClendon the video and that contrary to her earlier claim, it indeed included plaintiff's face in said video. Plaintiff listened in a state of shock.
Oh, wait. So was it McClendon that was married? Because McClendon was the dude and he was the boyfriend. He was married to someone else?
As she realized video of the non-consensual sex was being passed around the Mississippi Highway Patrol where both defendants worked at the time.
Why are they saying the sex was non-consensual? Because if it wasn't consensual, why would her point of contention be the video? It doesn't make any sense. And the video would prove that it was consensual.
The lawsuit says that there was no more contact with Williams after that, but then Jane Doe claims things got worse. Plaintiff is divorced with children. Her ex-husband asked her about a sex tape a month later during a child exchange. The ex-husband named Williams and said everyone was talking about it. Shamed by Williams' alleged distribution of the sex tape, plaintiff rarely leaves the home or socializes in the area, claims her life has completely changed. So now let's talk about the lawsuit, the end of it, where they talk about...
Okay, so the plaintiff was also married? I thought she had a boyfriend. What is going on? Is everyone cheating?
A lot of different causes of action and the damages. So there are many causes of action or claims that Jane Doe or her counsel included in the suit. Violation of the U.S. statute relating to disclosure of intimate images or video, intentional and negligent infliction of emotional distress, invasion of privacy, defamation, civil battery.
I mean, she more than invaded your privates.
Civil assault, civil conspiracy, gross negligence, and fraudulent concealment. Perry, that's a lot. Any of those stand out to you?
Yeah, as normally in these types of any complaint that's filed, you kind of lead with your strongest claim or your cause of action. So the first cause of action here is under the statutes 6851 under the U.S. Code. And that stands out for a couple of reasons. One, because you have to generally prove your damages in these cases, but this statute specifically allows for the greater of the actual damages you prove or liquidated damages of $150,000 plus costs plus...
She takes way too many selfies.
...any types of attorney fees or other fees you have associated. So it's almost giving you, if proven, you have a baseline amount of damages of $150,000, and then that could be separate from actual damages you prove in another claim or another cause of action. While normally you can't double recover for the same allegations or same conduct, here there's a scenario whereby you could prove the statutory cause of action, get liquidated damages, then also prove additional damages under intentional infliction of emotional distress or defamation or invasion of privacy, and be entitled to additional damages. So that is interesting to me, and the statute is interesting because there's also it's also accounts for injunctive relief, which could be destroying the video, refraining from distributing it. So that is by far to me the most interesting cause of action in this complaint.
Like what they did.
And everybody, so I want to thank Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring this episode of
/LC site.
Have that claim put in there as well.
I actually noted, I thought that was interesting as well, kind of for a different reason. I didn't see in any of the underlying facts alleged in the complaint any facts that would actually support the claim for defamation. I didn't see anywhere where Jane Doe alleged that either of the defendants said A, B, and C about her and she was caused injury by it, or they sent an email to someone that said, X, Y, and Z about her. And
so she's claiming defamation, which doesn't sound like she was defamed. And she did the things
injured that way. So while she included the cause of action, which is, a safe way to go about it and preserve it, ultimately you're going to have to supply facts that support that. And here she didn't even see, or the plaintiff didn't even seem to have even the most basic facts that she could point to say, here are the facts that support my defamation claim.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. And it was also, fraudulent concealment was basically lying to her face, that saying that her face wasn't in the video and it wasn't distributed. So there's all these different causes of action that they list. And in terms of damages, we talked about a little bit. It says, quote, plaintiff has suffered and continues to suffer extreme and permanent emotional distress with physical manifestations, lifelong loss of income, earning capacity, loss of past and future wages, past and future expenses for medical and psychological treatment, loss of enjoyment of life, and other losses to be described and proven at trial for this matter. She's seeking $11 million in relief. That
she
last
lost
part
her goddamn mind
of the complaint where she talks about her life is no longer the same. That's important for the damages component, right? So taking everything as true in this complaint, does this seem like an $11 million lawsuit?
The short answer is no. Look, I don't think
I'll take the short answer.
About psychological treatment she's sought, and that is all damages she is entitled to recover. But for that to reach $11 million seems pretty far-fetched based on these set of circumstances. And I'd also note that even though she's claimed $11 million in damages here, it doesn't really mean anything. You could ultimately, whatever is proven at trial is ultimately the number. It's a big number and it sounds good, but ultimately you're entitled to whatever you prove and whatever a jury would award you at the end of a trial.
And some of those claims, like intentional negligent infliction of emotional distress,
I got distracted there. Apparently, he's got a bunch of pictures of his kid, and then all of a sudden, his big-titted wife shows up.
Can generate a higher damages award than other ones, because if you think about it and you take it all as true, she was in this encounter. It was non-consensual. It was filmed. And it was distributed. I mean,
it seemed pretty consensual, man.
A nightmare. So I can understand why she's suing for this, and maybe why she is suing for that much amount. I do have a.
How would she prove any of the things that she's saying? She can't prove that the woman lied to her. She can't prove any of these damages because the damages is from her behavior, not the video.
Question though about Williams. And this is kind of a broader question in terms of people who are, fired or suspended from a job. If she wins this lawsuit, Williams, or it's dismissed, we'll get to that in a second, or even if there's a settlement, would that affect her ability to get her job back with MH?
She ain't getting her job back. She was doing a bunch of other stuff besides the lawsuit.
I think it all plays into it. Look, they've already terminated her. It seems like she filed an appeal. That's clear. It seems like that appeal is still pending. It'd be hard pressed for me to see a scenario where she gets this same job back. If she wins her appeal and proves that she was wrongly terminated, that's a different story. But I would be hard pressed to see that the results of this lawsuit affecting her job, because they have separate standards. They have their internal rules and regulations and policies. Right. So I would think there would be two different tracks going here. She's going to fight her.
Said, look, Jane Doe, she waited 10 months after this alleged incident to file complaints with the Attorney General and Department of Public Safety, but she doesn't mention either of those in her complaint. It says, quote, Jane Doe does not even relate the filing she made in state court concerning this matter. There have been no findings of any actions by an agency of government against this defendant as to any liability due to those filings.
I didn't understand any of that.
Now, that's interesting, Perry, because she's making arguments that there's a lack of specificity in this initial pleading, that if she finds it interesting that Jane Doe...
No, well, it just sounds like she did the initial filing by herself, and then she consulted a lawyer or someone that knows the law, and that's when she added on to other stuff.
Went to other agencies and doesn't mention it. The judge, though, denied the motion, and the case is moving forward. What did you make of the arguments, and why do you think the judge decided that?
Well, first of all, it seems to me that throughout the course of this case, I don't know if Williams has ever actually been represented by counsel. It seems that she's representing herself. The first telltale sign of that is when she filed an answer and her counterclaim, which is proper, within there, she inserted her motion to dismiss within the same document. And
She inserted.
the judge quickly said, that's improper. You need to file a separate motion to dismiss. The judge also, in his order, dismisses her claim about the lack of specificity. This is federal claims in federal court require notice pleading. You have to do enough to put the defendant on notice. You don't have to plead every single fact and circumstances. And the judge specifically talks about that you're not required to plead intent. And here, Jane Doe did enough to create a reasonable inference of that this was improper, that she didn't consent to the video and she didn't consent to it being shared. So Williams, the judge actually goes in his order denying both defendants' motions to dismiss. He actually goes piece by piece and argument by argument through McClendon's motion, and then summarily dismisses Williams' argument and says there's no law here, there's no facts here, and the argument that she waited 10 months that Jane Doe waited 10 months is also dismissed as long as she was within the statute of limitations.
Yeah.
And you could also refer from the facts that the reason she waited some time between the actual incident is because she pleads in the facts that she didn't discover that this video was shared until months and months later after the incident.
Sense.
So that would explain that.
Yeah. And
the fact
it would also take time for damages to occur and for her to, so before she can file anything.
The state court filing, I think Williams is implying that, there are some facts to say that Jane Doe used her actual name in the state court filing, and both defendants are arguing here that she shouldn't be allowed to use a pseudonym. But the judge again dismisses that in this case in his order and says, I'll take that under advisement moving forward. For example, if Jane Doe did a press conference, she did an interview, and she starts putting herself out there using her real name, maybe that would waive her right to use a pseudonym. But under the statute 6851, it specifically contemplates plaintiffs using a pseudonym. So that's something and the judge said he looked at all the cases under that statute, and every single time the plaintiff has been allowed to use the pseudonym, and there's a public interest in doing so.
And to be clear, just because this case is moving forward doesn't mean that she'll necessarily win this lawsuit. And just to highlight one more thing, especially when you're dealing with cases against Jane Doe, bar on the night of the alleged incident,
Plaintiff Jane Doe invited Williams to a bar in the night during the month of late January or early February. Williams declined due to the fact that was employed by the Mississippi Highway Patrol and was not placing herself in an establishment for the sole purpose of consuming alcohol. Thereafter, the two agreed to have dinner. Okay.
Williams declined due to the fact that she was employed by the Mississippi Highway Patrol and was not placing herself in an establishment for the sole purpose of consuming alcohol.
I'm going to join by two adult males. Okay.
Thereafter, the two agreed to have
dinner. So they got wasted during dinner and then go home and get their rug burn on?
Dinner. The women were joined by two adult males for dinner. The four of them went to another restaurant, then went to the home of one of the men. Then they all traveled to Williams' home. Jane Doe did consume alcohol throughout the evening, but was not inebriated to the point that her body or cognitive abilities were limited. When at the home of Williams, Jane Doe became the aggressor for a sexual encounter with Williams.
I figured she was the aggressor, because if the other one is filming, she can't be eating cat and filming at the same time. So, which means the other person was, snatching up some kitty, and she had her hands free to film.
Williams agrees to Jane Doe's approach. Jane Doe then agrees the encounter could be recorded on a cell phone. Afterward, Jane Doe gets up, puts on her clothing, but stays for the entire night. The next morning, Jane Doe views the video and allows, with her full knowledge and consent, the video could be sent by Williams to one male person. No parties were ever sent the video in question other than the party to which Jane Doe agreed.
Yeah, so they probably looked at it and like, oh, it's really hot. And that's probably why she sent it to her boyfriend, because maybe they both thought that the boyfriend would think it was sexy or whatever, that she's getting with another girl. Just spitballing.
agreed. No persons or entities other than the one which Jane Doe agreed to have been sent any video containing her likeness. After the encounter that is the subject of this filing, Jane Doe continued to travel, communicate, and have a friendly relationship with Williams to the extent of having photographs taken, even though Jane Doe now subjects Williams to a potential rape charge, and she's filing for intentional negligent infliction of emotional distress, defamation, civil conspiracy, negligence, fraudulent concealment, tortious interference with business relationships. She's suing for $20 million, again, under kind of similar
20 million.
Similar claims.
I mean, she sued you for 11 million. You don't have it. You suing her for 20 million. She don't have it. None of you want money, huh?
As Jane Doe. So many thoughts here, Perry. I mean, it's a complete opposite story. And she's not only negating the harm that Jane Doe claims, but basically saying she was in the driver's seat. And it also seems like she's saying if this video was distributed to anybody at MHP or distributed to anyone outside, presumably her then boyfriend, that seems like it was she's putting the blame on the boyfriend. So those are my initial thoughts. What about you?
I agree on that last point completely. It seems like if that was proven, if Williams can prove that, and here's where it gets dicey. I don't know how they were both drinking alcohol that night, whether Jane Doe was drinking a lot or a little, and whether Williams was drinking a lot or a little. It's a she said argument here. There's no one else who was there at the time besides the two of them, and they were both intoxicated.
Wasn't there two other guys?
It's going to be Jane Doe's word versus Williams' word about what Jane Doe consented to, and she admitted she was intoxicated. So she's going to probably argue, I was not conscious enough to consent to anything, and I definitely wouldn't ever have said you could share this video with someone. Look, Williams is going to tell a different story, and ultimately, if this case moves forward, I'm not sure what the discovery, the evidence is going to be. But
she said until court.
Hold on.
And
the case would continue.
And Miss Williams has, portrayed herself as the victim in all this. In fact, she posted a video of local news coverage to her Facebook page along with some commentary.
So I am a fired state trooper. I have not hid that from day one, and I have
got that Mississippi accent. All right.
Told you all that I am innocent, and I can't wait until court to prove my innocence, because lately in society, it's not until
I don't see a beach or a pool anywhere near her, but she's dressed like
you're proven guilty. No, you're guilty until proven innocent. It's a she said until court, because I am going through that process.
And then there was more fallout from this investigation. So 2 male troopers were fired. According to termination letters, Master Sergeant Julius Houston and fellow Master Sergeant Jeremy Lott, the men violated.
Oh, both of them had some stuff going on there. So she was right. She told the truth.
Agency's general orders, their code of conduct, because they both allegedly requested and received nude photos of Miss Williams. Both.
Wow. She's known to be sending out. She got her OnlyFans. What's going on? They have their own personal internal OnlyFans going on, and she's known to be doing that. And they're like, yo, listen, you got them pictures? Send them over here.
Both men claimed in appeals to the state that they received the photos while off duty, and they're petitioning the state to reverse the termination. So I find it interesting. Like them and like Williams, they're not like all out denials. This is all fabricated. They're like, no, there were photos that were sent, but we were off duty. Is that a defense?
It depends if they were, like Williams talks about the allegations, or the allegations against Williams, if this was all done on employer issued cell phones. I would assume they're not off the hook for that, whether they were on
okay, so they were off duty, but they were using their work phones to contact each other.
Duty or off duty. I think that's telling. I think when your best argument is, yes, we did this, but we didn't do it on the company dime, I think you're in trouble. If that's all, if you can't deny it, and obviously they have the data in these investigations, they're going to see the cell phones, they're going to see the video, they're going to examine the metadata that shows, when these videos were taken and sent. All that is easily accessible these days. So these officers, I would say, have tough sledding, and I would say the department may have to evaluate what's going on there, because it seems like
it seems like that lady's way too free with her sex life. Like it seems like a community affair. With her privates.
at least involving Williams, this was a larger issue than just the one night with Jane Doe and the one video. There's obviously a lot more going on here, and so the department obviously also has their own PR to do and make sure that they're doing their due diligence to make sure this doesn't get out and blow out of proportion more than it already is.
Well, I can see why.
Yeah, you can see why. Looks like his face is scrunched up against a glass, but that's probably just his nose. Anyways, until next time.